Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing a subject which I actually ran a poll a little while back on my channel that you could check over on my community tab. And that subject is, could Gotenks have defeated Super Boo if he actually went full power and took the fight seriously from the very start in the Boo saga? And that's something that we've certainly heard fors and against in terms of that subject. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be taking a look directly at the manga and looking through and examining and doing analysis of the full fight, as well as different statements made by varying characters about the power not only on display, but also what the intentions were of Super Boo and Gotenks even going in. So let me get into that right now. So let's begin, well, with the beginning of the fight. When Piccolo brings Super Boo into the hyperbolic time chamber or room of spirit and time so that he will be able to confront the enemy that Goku told him about, well, the hero in our case, the enemy for him, that is actually stated by Goku to be more powerful than himself, which is the fusion of Goku's son Goten, and also Torankasu, or Trunks, from the main timeline, you know, the worst one, not the cool one from the future until Dragon Ball Super. But anyway, getting into everything, Boo immediately attacks Trunks because he doesn't understand that fusion's going to happen. Piccolo is stranged out by the fact that, wait a second, why aren't they starting as Super Saiyans? Because he doesn't realize they can transform afterward. We get the fusion, which is perfect, of Goten, Trunks into Gotenks. And of course, we actually did see an earlier fight. Well, we didn't see it, except for in the anime. It was off screen where Base, I believe, Gotenks, actually went to fight against Fat Boo and was defeated. And actually, we have Boo referencing that right here because he actually remembers their fight. But Boo, or Gotenks, powered up significantly during his training in the hyperbolic time chamber, which I'll get a little bit more into as this goes on. Even Piccolo mentions that they powered up hugely and they might be able to succeed. Whether or not this means that base Gotenks is actually stronger than he was as a Super Saiyan before, or what specifically, I talked about how strong Gotenks is in a video on my channel. You could see in the top right, or, you know, just on my channel, how strong is Gotenks. Of course, he's not able to do anything to Super Boo at this point because Super Boo is way more powerful than Fat Boo was because of something else I talked about in yet another video, which I'm going to really enjoy having to edit these cards in here, that you could check out the top right, or the video why Super Boo is way more powerful than you think, or something like that. Who knows? You know, all those titles, we got to get those views on. So nonetheless, what ends up happening here, well, you know, Gotenks is fighting against Boo. He can't do anything at first. You know, Piccolo has this iconic moment of him face palming, which I was really happy with Toriyama drawing there. And he says, okay, finally, I'm just going to go all out. And he becomes a Super Saiyan. Of course, we find out later this isn't the full extent, but immediately you could see things change. Boo is surprised by the power of Gotenks when he's a Super Saiyan. Piccolo finds out that he's able to actually become a Super Saiyan after fusing, which naturally would make sense. And then at this point, we start to see some of these incredible techniques from Gotenks on display, like, for example, where we actually have what you could see here, which is the Galactic Donut, which he uses in order to ensnare Boo within it, and he's not able to actually escape from this particular tactic because the fact, well, or maybe I should correct myself, because he does, in fact, escape from it. Gotcha, guys. What a twist. But anyway, what ends up happening is that the power on display here of Gotenks still isn't quite at the level of Super Boo. He's certainly, you know, not a million times below him or anything at this point, because we know how the Super Saiyan multipliers work, but Boo's getting the advantage. He's having fun with him. And as we continue to see it going on, he goes to headbutt him, but this is the son of Son Goku. And so as a result, he is able to headbutt him with that super dense head. Makes you wonder how Goku ever even got hurt in the first place. And as a result, we see this scene, and unfortunately the censorship by Viz that they did here, where Gotenks was originally flipping him off, but for some reason Viz thought that flipping somebody the bird in this particular iteration, the manga, was a little bit too much, even though we see people cut in half and stuff. But you gotta love American Western censorship anyway. And, at this point, here comes the ultimate move from Gotenks, the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, or the Super Kamikaze Ghost Strike in the manga, where he puffs these little guys out, like it's April 20th. And what do we see right here? Snoop Dogg's favorite technique for sure. And, Boo doesn't realize what's actually going to happen right now. This is another one of those techniques that's super powerful. He goes to hit it, and look what happens. Boo is utterly deformed. Again, for some reason, they thought this was acceptable, but not, flipping somebody off. Anyway, what happens here? Well, Gotenks goes to use those moves again. He creates a bunch of the Super Ghost Kamikazes, but unfortunately, they're not really all just easy to control. It's all kind of a goofy situation because Gotenks is basically a glorified gag character at here. And we see that Boo is kind of channeling that too. He somehow is able to create a milkshake and a car magazine that he's reading while this is going on. Why Super Boo even knows what a car is, or a milkshake, or car magazines, well, that's another question for another day. He sends in the ghosts, and Boo already figured this out. He finishes his milkshake just like, Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. And as a result, they hit into each other, and, they start to blow each other up because they are, stupid. And so as a result, boom, they're blowing up. And what happens? Well, Gotenks comes up with a strategy where he's actually able to trick Boo by saying, oh, what's this on the ground? And they all go there. He goes, And then all they jump on him. We see this happen to Boo again, where he's even more messed up. And what happens? Well, he sends number 10 to go down his throat. What is this, JoJo? And he goes inside of him. Boom, blows him up. There's that eyeball. And there we go. We could see that they dealt significant damage to Boo, and there's just all these little things on the ground. Now, this is a very important scene when it comes to whether or not Gotenks could have actually defeated Boo. Because look at just how OP this guy's regeneration is. After all, we see them, they start vaporizing all the pieces. Like Piccolo says, he can regenerate, we must incinerate all the pieces, and that's what they start doing. They start destroying everything left over. They're not going to let him reform like the T-1000 in Terminator 2. Instead, they're going to go in here and they start not only vaporizing them, but then stomping out the dust. And Piccolo at this point, they both assume it's fine, because why would Boo ever be able to come back from this? Except somehow Super Boo literally regenerates from burnt pieces of himself, vaporized pieces from smoke, and then comes back into existence. Now, this is a little scene that what Piccolo says has always been a little confusing to me, but look at what happens here. Not only does he come back, and Gotenks is like, how are we even supposed to get rid of him? Which is a great question, but look what Piccolo says. Curse us for fools. We should have vaporized the ashes with Chi Blast, but you just vaporized the pieces into ashes. So you're supposed to vaporize them again? What are you, double tapping a pile of ashes? I mean, how much can you literally destroy ashes, Piccolo? I mean, can you vaporize them down to the subatomic level? Like, what if Boo can come back from the quarks, or the strings? Like, how do you really know? Like, you already went out of your way. So either way, Piccolo will say then we could have destroyed the entrance just in case, and he would have been trapped in this dimension, which is something that Piccolo actually does. And, it's also weird that Gotenks seems to be confused when he sees that happen later, because Piccolo just tells him right here that's what he was going to do. So at this point, what happens? Well, Gotenks, being an idiot because he wants to try and look cool, as we could see right here. As a matter of fact, I do have something else. Maybe I'll make Piccolo sweat a little just to make it more dramatic. Oh no, I don't have any energy left. It's all over. It's the end of the world. Piccolo's freaking out. No, Boo at this point goes to attack Gotenks, slamming him around, like almost like Hulk from the Avengers slamming on Loki. And at this point, what happens? Well, Boo is still getting the advantage, and Gotenks is right about to finally go Super Saiyan 3 when Piccolo blows up the time chamber door with the intention of sealing the two in there forever. That was the only door between our world and this one, he says. You're powerful. Not even Gotenks could defeat you, unfortunately, but now you will never escape. kill us and live alone for eternity in this empty world. So, of course, Piccolo is trapping them forever. And the first thing that Boo asks is, do you have snacks? You know, that's his first thing that he's worried about. Is there food in here? In here? No. Stupid. Why'd you do that? What about my ultimate move? So they didn't realize this. At this point, we see just how powerful Boo is. He gets so mad because everything happening that he literally screams a hole through reality because he doesn't want to be stuck in there without food, you know, forget being trapped forever, just the lack of food. And he's able to fly through this hole. And during this really small period of time, he goes in there and he kills all the Z fighters, which was a really great fitting moment, Toriyama. I really appreciate that you wrote every single character not only being useless in this arc, except for the Saiyans and Piccolo, kind of. And then you had, you know, Boo kill them all off screen. You know, definitely great for fans of those characters, especially. And, you know, we see that they're watching and seeing everything happen. You know, I guess maybe this part isn't off screen that you could see in the little ball, but yeah, that's not very great. Nonetheless, like, they're in there for hours. Gotenks is literally going and transforming back and forth, and at this point, he goes to scream a hole himself after becoming Super Saiyan 3. Or Super Saiyan 3, sorry, I spoke Japanese for a second. Gotenks. And as a result, he is able to be way more powerful, although he doesn't really like the fact that he doesn't have any, eyebrows anymore. And at this point, he screams a hole in reality himself. Piccolo, well, he's seen enough. He's too old for this at this point. He's seen way too much, even though he's like 5 or, well, 10 at this point, I guess. And what happens? Well, he's a lot older than that, but nonetheless, they go to fight. And despite it being 0.00001 seconds since they went in there, Boo already killed and ate everyone. So nonetheless, what happens is we see this fight, and Gotenks starts to do a lot more damage, where he's able to immediately destroy the Lookout. Well, not immediately, but over time. Him and Boo just start wrecking, you know, each other and the Lookout there at the same time. Boo starts to be a little bit more serious too, where he's doing attacks like this. And Gotenks, you know, at the same time, starts to use even more of his techniques, like the super donut chain, kind of like we saw earlier, where he actually turns Boo into a volleyball, which kind of almost looks like a honeycomb too, or a beehive rather. And then he goes to give Piccolo the volleyball, making sure he says, for sure, for some reason. And Piccolo hits it up in the air to set it. Gotenks spikes it. And then Piccolo is like, did he really even need my help? And he hits a big crater in the ground. Even though these characters should be so strong that at this point, you know, a sneeze would blow up the entire planet, he hits it right into the ground because of ki control, and makes a big crater. Hopefully nobody was living there, no animals or anything, but not like they really care. And at this point, well, here is where Gotenks says something really stupid, where he tells Boo his weakness, which is, hurry up, if I lose this form, it'll take me an hour before I can beat you again. And what he means by that is that he's going to defuse very soon. Now, exactly how long can Gotenks even fight as a Super Saiyan 3? Because this is incredibly important when it comes to whether or not he would even be able to beat Boo. Well, we actually see this earlier on when Gotenks is trained, Goten Trunks, where Piccolo is leading Boo into the time chamber, and we actually see this is shortly after they achieve Super Saiyan 3 for the first time. Gotenks says, see, we did it. Yeah, says Goten. Wow, I never knew that there was a level beyond Super Saiyan. I guess somehow they skipped over 2 and went to 3. I don't know. We could beat him now for sure. One will be blown away by. Also, they saw Goku go Super Saiyan 3 earlier, but either way. But it wore me out. I feel like it used up all my energy. And here's the important thing to notice. I guess its weakness is time. We can only do it for 5 minutes. It even canceled our fusion. So what? We can finish that creep in 5 minutes easily. That's not exciting enough. We've trained a whole week in here. I think we've improved enough even with Boo, with our regular fusion, that they could beat him. So they're trying to say they could beat Boo in their base, which again, some people make that argument. I talked about that in my video. And, they could fuse for a half an hour and they want to drag out the fight for the last 5 minutes and then use that for Super Saiyan 3. So according to them, they could only ever be in Super Saiyan 3 for 5 minutes. So then it becomes like the whole ticking clock situation. Could they ever actually beat Super Boo within those 5 minutes? But what we actually see here at this point is that, Gotenks is using a lot of little attacks here, which, Piccolo's warning him can destroy the Earth, but he's not really going all out up until a certain point very soon, where we see right here where Boo attacks him because he's starting to get really annoyed himself that all this is going on. He knocks him down, and Gotenks, he's like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm getting really mad myself. And he goes to attack Boo, and he's firing this blast right back at Boo after he fired one at him. And he just starts beating him back, beating him down. We see this right here that he's fighting him at full power. He's tired of all this stuff. He knows that his fusion timer is going to run out soon anyway. Even Goku's like, at this rate, Gohan won't even get a turn. And you could see Boo's face right here. He's actually afraid. He sees that he's being overpowered, that he's being beaten mercilessly by Gotenks at this point, and he's like, oh man, he's on the ropes. He can't fight back against Gotenks going 100% serious, and he's mad. And what do we see right here? Now for the finish. I'm going to beat you to a pulp, chew you up, and spit you out. But what does he say right here? Then I'll obliterate all the pieces with chi, and you'll never be able to regenerate. And while he's charging up his attack, it looks like a Kamehameha. And now, And this is the point where Gotenks goes back to his base form because he ran out of power in his fusion timer. And boom, the two of them shortly will defuse after we see that Gohan becomes Ultimate Gohan. And so as a result, the two of them did defuse, and they don't really stand any chance at this point against Boo because, well, they can't go back to that power. Neither of them individually is even close to that power of probably even base Gotenks, obviously. And so as a result, we had to have them not only defuse, but Boo literally just sits there and takes a nap and goes to sleep. He doesn't care. He's not bothered by everything happening here. And some people might wonder, well, wait a second, why is Boo even doing this? Is he just bored? Shouldn't he wipe out somebody who's an ultimate threat to him? Well, the real ultimate threat is right about to show up with Gohan. And we see that when Gohan shows up, he powers up right in front of Boo and he just beats the living Cell Saga out of him. Well, no, actually not. Trying to avoid swears here, guys, even though, sometimes I don't. But nonetheless, what happens here? Here's a great little statement, which is, I knew it. It was you. What? What do you mean, says Gohan. I felt a very strong power far, far away. I don't want anything to be stronger than me, says Boo. So you tried me out and I was really stronger? Well, that's too bad. And so this is the point where Boo goes to blow himself up and kind of comes up with another strategy. Well, actually, Boo already had a strategy in his mind because look what happens here. Shortly after he returns, he goads Goten, Trunks into fusing into Gotenks so that they become their ultimate power. And what ends up happening? Boo says right here, with their power in Piccolo's brains. He releases part of himself so that he can go around and absorb Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and Piccolo at the same time, increasing his power and his intellect so he'll be able to fight against Gohan and becomes Gotenks. What do you think, Gohan? A splendid success for me and honor for you, I'd say. For you, witness the birth of the most powerful Jin of all time, past, present, and future. And here's where we get the full statement about what Boo's intent was against Gotenks. I began to form this plan when I first sensed your presence far from Earth and realized that you might prove stronger than I. So I thought, if I should absorb Super Gotenks, I should surely be able to retain my title regardless of who should appear. Fortunately, the brat mentioned that he had limited time. Not wanting him to shift back to the moment I absorbed him, I had to wait for the next window of opportunity. I needed to stall only an hour until the creature honored me with his reappearance. So that was when he blew himself up, quote unquote, so that he could hide and wait until Gotenks would be able to fuse back together, and then in turn he would absorb him, because as we see right here. Oh, that's what it was about. You sucked up some speaking skills from Piccolo, but you're still not that smart. If you did want to be the strongest, why didn't you absorb me? What do you think? What good is power with no one to fight? As the former Boo declared, I'll smash you and enjoy it. Well, hopefully we don't take that out of context, right, chat? But nonetheless, what ends up happening? Well, at this point, we see that Boo is actually planning the entire fight against Gotenks, even at this point in time, to absorb him after he went back. In fact, he actually would have already absorbed him earlier in the fight, up until this really dumb statement that Gotenks makes. Well, maybe not too dumb, because we would have gotten Bootanks earlier, where he does tell him that, hurry up, if I lose this form, it'll take me an hour before I can beat you again. You see that Boo is actually shocked. He's like, oh, he realized that Gotenks could go back to his normal form and defuse, and so it wouldn't serve him to absorb him, as he sees right here and explains right here. And so as a result, he purposely waited and was just stalling him until the fighter that he was actually waiting for, Gohan, showed up at this point. He felt a stronger power. So you can make the argument based upon this statement and this one, and that he was purposely planning to absorb Gotenks, that at no point during the fight did Gotenks actually stand a real chance of defeating Super Boo, of killing him, of wiping him out entirely, and that Boo the entire time was purposely just playing with him, not trying to kill him, because he knew that as a result, Gohan was going to show up, the stronger fighter out of the three of them, at that point would want to fight him and defeat him so that he could prove himself as the most supreme being, and then maybe absorb him after he had him dead to rights, even though we see that he clearly wants to kill him at other points before that. So that really is what everything comes down to when it comes to their fight. Would Gotenks be able to defeat Boo and obliterate him, as he says right here, despite the fact that we saw him earlier being able to regenerate from smoke? Or was Boo always going to be able to withstand the attack and the onslaught of Gotenks because he was secretly just as strong or stronger than him, or at least capable of withstanding everything he had within those 5 minutes? And again, would Gotenks, even if he went full power from the very start within the hyperbolic time chamber, have ever been able to actually defeat Boo inside of it, because the fact that, again, he would defuse within 5 minutes. So the fight would last exactly the same amount of time as it did with this Super Saiyan 3 fight, where Gotenks eventually ran out of power and defused, even though, again, maybe half that fight was spent with Gotenks not actually trying. So it really comes down to those different perspectives. So could Gotenks have defeated Super Boo if he went full power, like at the end of that fight from the very start in the hyperbolic time chamber, going Super Saiyan 3 immediately, attacking him, going and firing full power blasts during those 5 minutes where he actually could have stayed in that form? Or no matter what he did, was he ultimately going to fail before the real ultimate fighter showed up, Gohan, and Boo would have absorbed him nonetheless? Because we don't really know when Boo started to sense him. For all we know, Boo started to sense Gohan's power the second that he gained the ability to sense power, when he became Super Boo, or maybe when he got to the lookout and he sensed everyone there and he still sensed another powerful enemy, then he realized that that was going to be the person he would have to fight. It's left up in the air for all we know, but at the end of the day, would Boo actually be able to withstand everything from Gotenks? Or in that shot I showed you where he seemed like he was afraid, was that legitimate and he actually could have been defeated? Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. Another thing is, maybe the Spirit Bomb is the only way to actually win, because it targets his evil ki entirely. But I also talked about that in another video you could see in the top right corner. But don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
And you better subscribe!